There are many origins for the Legion of the Damned. The beliefs of the Space Marines in their fallen comrades forming in the warp, the Firehawks lost and tainted in the Empyrean, heroic spirits summoned by the Master of Mankind. But they all give us the Legion of the Damned, or the Emperor's Daemons. But how are they able to always emerge in places of dire emergency, and at the right moment in time, as if some hand guides them? And who guides them? And how can they take so much damage in battle, bullets passing through them, etc.? Using the law we know for the demons of chaos, I'm going to examine these concepts. So first, think about liking and subscribing for more lore videos. And in the novels, I think it's pretty clear they are the Emperor's Daemons, or some sort of warp-based energy creates them. During the Siege of Cadia, a black pylon is activated, which suppresses the power of the warp. In this case, the demon engines shut down, Chaos Demons and the Legion of the Damned vanish, and Saint Celestine loses most of her power. Or one of the Eldari who comments on the Legion of the Damned. They are creatures born of the warp. That much even a child could divine. That they wear the shape of mankind's vaunted defenders is a matter as immaterial as the warriors themselves. They are demons, and they must be brought low, just as with all their malefic kind. So how can they create their bodies? Where demons from chaos emerge, it's usually through a portal or somewhere near a high concentration of warp energy, such as on Earth during the Siege of Terror, when the vengeful spirit is in orbit and acts as a beacon for warp power. If you think of the energy of the warp, its power level is linked to the demons. They draw on it to create forms for themselves, and unless their forms are shattered and they go back into the warp, they can keep these forms as long as the energy is around. They soak it up like I do a bottle of whiskey. So when the portal closes, through which the energy pours, or say the vengeful spirit breaks orbit and goes for a jaunt around Cadia, so would the demons go, as their power source is no longer there. So with the Legion of the Damned, I think they make their bodies through the available warp energy when they emerge, just as the demons do. This is how they emerge from the shadows. So how are they immune to such damage? I think when the demons are creating their forms, they can decide perhaps how much of them is solid and how much of them isn't. We see the Legion in the novel Legion of the Damned take fire from the forces of Khorne and survive. The Revenants had been unaffected by the city-levelling star-hot beam of energy, with even those angels directly below the orbital strike going about their vengeance, oblivious to the destruction wrought around them. If their bodies are made of warp energy, it makes sense they could partially fade out, perhaps, so they can survive big damage, because it never really touches them. They are the disparate warp energy, perhaps with just a thin amount of them there to fire the weapons, etc. And perhaps they only hit when they can't see an attack coming, and so get damaged on their solidified parts. So the tricky question is, how do they appear always at the right moment and place? Have they mastered time travel somehow with a blue police box, or the principles of the warp? It's a bit of a stretch, this one, but I've done my best to make it make sense. We know from one short story that the part of the Inquisition who study time have held a Legion of the Damned for study, and possibly for this reason we could say they have some knowledge about time in the warp. Now, demons in the warp live there and are not touched by time. When they enter the materium, they are then touched by the time there, and at some point they'll die and they return to the warp and the non-time that holds sway there. For those moments in the normal 40k verse, they are affected by time and experience it, and those memories and experiences, for each moment they exit the warp itself. But they don't always do this in the order we would, where I'll get up, go to work, come home. That happens in that order. A demon may take it in a different order. Let me give you an example to explain and illustrate a bit clearer. When the Primarch Mortarion speaks to a demon, it says, "Yes, Lord, Mortarion, you and I have fought together many times. We are allies, you and I." "I do not recall," said Mortarion. Kugath shifted its bulk and the ground quaked. The demon moved its giant's head towards Mortarion. Its rotting septum quivered as it sniffed. "Ah," it said, realization overcoming its misery. "That is because it is yet to happen. It will though. Oh, it will. Time means nothing here. So it experiences our reality in small moments in the order it comes to them. But due to time being on pause when in the warp, each time it emerges might not be in the same order, where we in our linear time move forward and meet moments as they come. They intersect and jump in and out of the materium and the associated time. I hope that's clear. I've really struggled to make that clear, so let's hope that's come across to you, because it's pretty key. So how does this help with the Legion of the Damned? I think they must also be moving through time in a non-linear order when they emerge onto each battlefield, with perhaps only moments in between each battle, and they will know where they are when they emerge and what they will face, because for them this is not a battle they have just stepped into. This is the battle they have already fought. This would let them know where and when they would need to be, so they fight their lives out of order, as the demon did with Mortarion, where it was already an ally with him. So next, how do they appear and disappear? If it's near some warp portal, let's just say the Great Rift, that makes sense to me. They are called by the Big E from there, placing the warp, perhaps from some other battlefield, as they carry on their jigsaw timeline existence. And when they appear, kick ass and go back. What about in most of the normal places in the materium? There has to be a warp rift or high warp energy nearby, though. And think about the opening of the Great Rift and how that energy woke up all those psychers across the galaxy. The currents are running high, and I can't see why they wouldn't have much trouble appearing in most places within the materium. But if there is no warp energy in the materium, like for demons, they would not be able to appear, and perhaps that's why they are not on every battlefield across the galaxy. And finally, how does the Big E know where to send them? One early idea for me was the psychic divination from the Emperor's tarot cards that are linked with the will of the Emperor and are used for working out what might happen in the future. But I called on that idea, quite foolish really, the Legion playing poker with the Emperor's cards so they know where to go. And another idea came to me. In the End in the Death Part 3, the first and last Lord of the Imperium cast much of his better side, empathy, etc. into the warp, so he had the balls to face and kill Horus, his son. So what if it's that spirit that guides the Legion of the Damned where to go within the time of the warp, looking from his perspective of the history of humanity whilst he's in the warp, where history is timeless. And from that perspective, sending them in like his personal warp demons where he needs them to go. And as they live events in a strange order, they know what they will face, as time does not touch the warp, as I have said many times now. I imagine it like the gods of chaos. The Emperor calls them when he needs them. We know that the demons are made from the gods of chaos to fashion one from their own essence. A portion of their might is willed into a separate being, one made from a collection of senses, thoughts and purpose, giving it a little type of personality. And with the Emperor, perhaps he does this with the Legion of the Damned, using the souls of his Space Marine warriors when one of them falls, and he needs to forge another for the ongoing fight. If you like this video about the origin of the Legion of the Damned and how they may actually appear and disappear and how all of these things work, why don't you look at this video about the actual origin of the Firehawks, read from an old copy of White Dwarf.